It's not. It's based on Grace Hopper architecture, which isn't the Blackwell that we're currently in. It isn't the Vera Rubin that we're looking towards. It's the previous year's iterations. It is 10x superior to the H200s that, remember, cast your mind back, had also been deemed okay to ship from the United States to China if a 15% cut was given to the US government. But that was never signed into law. They were never able to execute on that. And most importantly, China doesn't want them. And I think this is the key. The Financial Times is reporting that basically already China's looking at putting curbs, licenses, basically limiting the ability for certain companies to access the H200s, even if Nvidia is allowed to ship them. And I think this is what everyone's got to currently digest. I'm hearing time and time again from some of the most powerful people in the technology space that we are underestimating how sophisticated China is at using the Nvidia chips, the small amount they already have, and some of those homegrown ones.
Typically, how is this trade policy negotiated? Who typically says, U.S. tech company, you can sell this into China or to other markets, or you can't? Because it just seems like it's now at the whim of the president and his X account or Truth Social account setting trade policies. How is it typically done?
Well, isn't it interesting that just last week, Jensen Huang was meeting with the president, but was meeting with some of the leaders over in Congress. Most crucially, he was with the Senate Banking Committee, because it's the Banking Committee, oddly, that tends to be in charge of export restrictions. And so it was that group of leaders, but many are frustrated. And I was just at the Reagan Defense Forum, National Defense Forum this weekend, and there is hand-wringing going on from Congress that they're being cut out of a lot of these discussions. Really, they should have ownership of how much trade should be allowed. But at the moment, these are coming through executive orders. And we know that the president likes to cut a deal. Nvidia, Jensen Huang likes to cut a deal. They have a very personal relationship. And most broadly, Nvidia and Jensen want access to China. They think there's something like a $50 billion total addressable market they're being forced to have to put down at the moment. He has 0% revenue coming from that country. But you've got this tussle at the top of the China hawks who are worried from a national security perspective if you allow technology to go from the US into China. But on the flip side, Jensen Huang would say, they're just going to build it themselves, and we're forcing them to speed up that by limiting my technology. Let our stack own that of China's big large language model development.
So you had mentioned that China didn't want to buy the H20 chips. Does China want to buy the H200 chips?
I think if you asked, what the reporting shows is that if you turn to an Alibaba or a Tencent or a Baidu, they are limited by the amount of GPUs they have access to. So I think more is more from their perspective. And yes, the H200s build on the H20s, but longer term, the government wants to focus on domestic supply here. That's why you're seeing Cambricon do so well, why you're seeing Huawei do well, why you're hearing Baidu wants to spin off its chip manufacturing, why we just had that superb entrance to the market just of the Moores technology company that has shot up more than 400%.
Wow.
They do want to make it homegrown.